Okay, so we've seen how to embed simple variables and expressions directly into our JSX. Now we're going to talk about conditional logic. How do we display things selectively depending on certain pieces of data? So there's more than one way of doing this. Actually, there's an article on the documentation that goes into a couple of different options. And there's another great article I found by this guy, Esteban Herrera, and he talks about 8 different ways of conditionally rendering different pieces in a component. So there's not one right way. I'm going to show you a couple in this video. So first up, I have a new file, a new folder. It's called JSX Conditionals. You can find it with all the other downloads, and it has a reference to our index.js. So what we're going to build here is a number picker or a num picker component. It will pick a random number, and if we happen to get 7, it will display a message, and if we get any other number, it displays a different message. Super simple. So I'm going to type out the basic skeleton. I'll fast forward. Okay, so I have my class numPicker. I have the render statement where I'm selecting the root. This is all identical except we've changed the name to be numPicker. Okay, so let's start with something really simple. Let's return a h1 that says your number is, and then we're not going to put a random number in there just yet. So let's save it and take a look. Great, here it is. I'm using the live server once again. Now what we're going to do is pick a random number. So the simplest way to do that is what we've already seen. We'll define a function. Let's call it getNum, and it's going to return a random number between 1 and 10. So we do a math.random and we floor that, but we don't just floor the math.random. That gives us a decimal. We multiply it. So this is going to give us a number from 0 to 9, and then we add 1 at the end if we did it correctly. So then we're going to just add that in as a simple expression. Just interpolate it for now, just like that. And let's see if it works. Okay, every time I refresh, we get a different number. Let's make sure, okay, we just got 10, and we shouldn't be getting 0. We just want 1 through 10. Are we ever going to get a 1? All right, that's conclusive enough. We have our numbers working. So now let's selectively display a message below this. So our lucky number, you can pick whatever you want. I'm going to pick 7. It's sort of the obvious classic lucky number. Every kid loves number 7, at least at my schools that I went to. I don't know why, but what we're going to do is just display a message below. We'll do it as a paragraph. And in here, we either want to say congrats if the number is 7, or I don't know, condolences if it's not 7, or unlucky. So how do we do that? Well, there's multiple options. But before we go any further, we are going to need to wrap all of this in a div and just paste all of that in there, just so that we make sure we're returning one element. Okay, so the simplest option is to use the ternary operator. So it looks like this. We have something question mark, and then we'll write a string, colon, another string. So thing needs to be some sort of Boolean expression. So we're going to need to use getNum, and we're going to check if our number is equal to 7. So rather than putting getNum up here and then calling it again, which would give us a different number most likely, I'm going to just move this out and make a variable up top inside of render, but not in the return. I'll call it num equals getNum. And I accidentally grabbed one too many brace. Okay, so now we're going to say your number is, and just put num right there. Put a little colon. Then down here, we're going to check is num equal, triple equals to 7. And if it is, we're going to say congrats. Otherwise, we'll say unlucky. So this is simple enough to use the ternary operator when we're doing things like this, where it's a yes or a no, and it's just a little bit of text or markup that we're doing depending on that condition. I'm going to show you another example in just a bit where we might actually have some more complicated markup. But let's just play around and see if it works. So your number is 10, unlucky, refresh. Hopefully we'll get 7 eventually. I might be here for a while. Come on, there we go. Congrats. Okay, so simple. We're getting a different paragraph tag printed out or being rendered for us depending on that number. So that's one option. The next thing that we could do, let's say I want to include this GIF / GIF / whatever you want to pronounce it as, if we guess 7. But I don't want to include it at all otherwise. So we could follow the exact same pattern where we use the ternary operator. We have our condition, which is number equal to 7. Question mark will display an image. So this is not actually an image. But otherwise, if it's not equal to 7, this is where it's kind of annoying. We don't want to display anything. So we can put null there. And then we'll add the actual image tag right now. So that looks like this. We need to close it. We set the source, and all of a sudden this is a really long, unwieldy line. So what we could do is break it up like this. A question mark down there, put the colon there, save, we get this indentation. So is number equal to 7? If it is, display this image. Otherwise, display nothing, null. I'm not really a fan of this syntax, but it should work. If we check it out here, refresh. Come on, give me a 7. Okay, finally got a 7, and it is working. So there's another option for us, which is to short circuit this just a bit. And instead of using the whole ternary operator, where we use a question mark and a colon, basically if else, instead we can say is num equal to 7 and display this image. Now this is kind of odd, but we're taking advantage of the way the Boolean AND operator works. So if this first thing is true, well, if the first thing is false, we're never going to do this. Now, if the first thing is true, then this is also going to be, this is truthy on its own. And so this will be displayed. We don't have to type that colon null. We don't have to explicitly say do nothing if it's not 7. So this is another option. If we save, go back, just double check, it still works. We get that image or the GIF. Otherwise, we don't if it's not 7. So that's all great, but there's, of course, multiple other options for what we could do. So another pattern that you might see is to build up a variable at the top. So inside of your render, but not in the return, let's call it message. And we'll basically have two scenarios. If num is equal to 7, we're going to set message equal to something else. Otherwise, we're going to reset message to be another thing. And then down here, all we're going to display is message. So we'll interpolate, we'll add the variable in using those brackets. So we could start simple, just say, good, and then say bad. Now this is silly to do it this way because we had this with that ternary operator inside of a paragraph. It was super simple. But if we just test it out, we're getting bad and good. Eventually we'll get good. And we get good. But what we typically would do is have different markup. So instead we could say, all right, if you get it, if you guess it correctly, or if we get 7, let's do a div. Now we need to wrap, remember, if we have multiple elements, we need to actually wrap them in a div or some sort of parent. So we'll do message is equal to a div, and inside of that, we'll put our image. And that source is that. And let's also put in an h2 that says, congrats, you win. So this is different markup entirely. It's no longer just a different paragraph text or displaying an image or not displaying it. Now we have an h2. Otherwise, let's just do a paragraph. And we'll say, sorry, you lose. Okay, so this pattern is also very common. So we have a variable, we are setting it to be some group of markup for one condition, and we might have multiple conditions. And then we display it, whatever it is, at the very end. So let's check it out now. Congrats, you win with our image. Sorry, you lose, no image, and it's not an H3 or H2, whatever that is. Yeah, H2. Okay, so that's 3 different ways. There are still more ways of doing this, but we saw how to use a ternary operator, which is great if you're doing small little pieces of text. We saw how to use this Boolean AND operator shortcut so that we could display one thing with a condition, but not display something else. So there's no else condition. And then I'm showing you here how to make a variable, change the content of the variable, and then render it at the end. Okay, next, we're going to take a break from JSX and take a look at how we structure our typical application. This is not great. This allows us to have one num picker per app. That is our app. What we're going to do is switch things around so that we can actually have an app component and talk about file structure just a bit.